So I reference, the 247 pounds per person per day. I believe that this is why autoimmune diseases are on the rise, why Alzheimer's is on the rise. 1 out of 3 elders dies with Alzheimer's now or another dementia because their brain is the weak link, where this toxicity of the environment we're exposed to is literally killing us. And this is a topic that most people don't like, but I'm going to tell you because for women of childbearing age, it's important. Many of us have had partners in the past, more than one partner, and ejaculations don't just ejaculate sperm. It's all of the bacteria and the viruses that may be stored in the prostate of that man. And some of that stuff can accumulate in the body, and it can cause more abnormal responses in the body that, in my opinion, is critically important that a woman detox and a man, that they both detox. Many of these chemicals that we're exposed to are called endocrine disrupting chemicals. That's a geek term that means they affect your hormones. And these chemicals that affect your hormones are the phthalates used to mold plastic. You've heard of bisphenol A, BPA in water bottles. You've heard of some of these chemicals, not all of them, but they're endocrine disruptors. They bind onto the estrogen and testosterone receptor sites in the body. And then they act like hormones. So they throw your hormone balance way out of balance. And we accumulate these chemicals over decades, not just over weeks, but every time you put nail polish on your fingernails or your toes, the phthalates from the nail polish are in your bloodstream in 4 to 5 minutes. Now, there's no evidence that the amount of phthalates that leach out of fingernail polish into your bloodstream is toxic to humans. There's no evidence, but this stuff accumulates in the body. The endocrine disrupting chemicals accumulate in the body. Dr. Dale Bredesen, my friend and the godfather of research on Alzheimer's, tells us that 60 to 65% of all Alzheimer's of the 5 types, is inhalation Alzheimer's. It's what we're breathing in the air. And when you learn that indoor air pollution is much worse than outdoor air pollution in most places in the country, you start asking the question, how do I clean the air in my home? And that's what we talk about at theDr.com. But all of this stuff accumulates, and it accumulates mostly in the fat tissue of the body. That's the depository for toxins. After your liver is all plugged up, your liver's an oil filter, but when it's all plugged up, you get dirty oil in your body, and then these toxins go into other cells, and they go into the fat cells. So 3 years before we were going to start work on a pregnancy, we both started detoxing. And it's really important to understand that this whole concept of detoxing is not something you do once a month or once every 6 months or 1 week out of every year.
I do it daily.
You do it daily.
Right.
It's something to understand is the lifestyle of daily detoxing. That's why we just did the Base Hits program. It was 4 weeks on Monday evenings of me talking about the 4 most important topics. One is detoxification, then inflammation, then the immune system, and then the gut-brain connection. And we did it over 4 weeks, and I had a few slides, but then it was question and answers, deep dive into the questions and answers. It was about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours for each of these sessions. And we're doing it again. And we'll post the link here, and you can look at the link afterwards and the testimonials from the first group that went through, and you might want to consider doing that. But I believe that every woman of childbearing age needs to dial down how to detox, why to detox, and how to minimize the amount of toxic exposures that they get in the future, so that their bodies won't have all of these chemicals. Every newborn child has 200 plus chemicals in their bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there. Why? Because they're in mom. They're in mom's storage tank, her fat cells. and they're in the air that she's breathing, and it's in the food that she's eating. So mom has to learn about this before you do not detox in pregnancy. You do not mobilize these toxins during pregnancy, but you set yourself up to get rid of as many of these toxins as you can before getting pregnant. And that's what we did starting 3 years ago. And even with that, we still had a blighted ovum, and we think everything's going really well now, but there's no way to know. You just give it your best shot.